Hello, it's Captain. This is going to be a quick tutorial video here on my egg 7.47. It's for Alistair's egg plane challenge. So you can go head over to Alistair's Discord. It's in the workshop linked, and check that out. And make sure you watch the video. So just jump up on the wing there like I did. Come on in. Go ahead and sit in the captain seat or the FO seat, whichever you like. Press the hatch button. It'll lower the roof. Let's go ahead and we'll look at the checklists. All right, we'll go ahead and turn on the battery master. Once that's on here, you'll notice the battery starts to deplete. We get a negative voltage there. We'll turn on the beacon. This tells everybody around that you're going to be starting the engines. Then what we want to do here is let's go ahead and we will turn on the parking brake. Get a red parking brake light there just to secure the vehicle. From there, we can go ahead and turn on the fuel valve and then the turbine start-stop. That's going to start the engines up. As you notice, the N1 for all four engines will start coming up. And we'll just wait for light off. Alright, the engines are lit off. Once the N1 has stabilized, which it has, you can go ahead and turn on the generator. That's going to connect the generator so we can start producing some electricity here. Alright, from there, we're going to go ahead and we'll look at the takeoff checklist. So from the takeoff checklist, we want to set our flaps to 10. So flaps are to 10. They're progressive. They go down progressively. And then we want to go ahead and release the parking brake. Go ahead and start thrusting up with the up arrow, thrust down with the down arrow, and we'll steer left-right for both nose wheel steering and the rudder. Right, so for takeoff, we want to verify that the nav/beacon is on. It should already be on. We want to make sure that the strobes are coming on before we get on the runway. Want to make sure that our taxi light and landing lights come on. Want to make sure we arm our reversers. Now, with thrust reversers, as long as we're on the ground, if we press the down arrow and we go into reverse, it's going to activate the transcal. It's going to put the engines into reverse thrust, and we can, you can see we'll start backing up here. And then to stop that, all you have to do is press the thrust up. It will put our engines back and forward. It will also close the transcals there. Alright, so that's pretty much all we need to get out to the runway and get rolling here. Next item on the takeoff checklist is thrust 60% N1. This goes up to 100, so it's about 25, 50, 75, 100. Engines will not go to 100 just because, like in real life, you're not going to run your turbines at 100%. So it's approximately 60%. All you really need to do is push the thrust up and go ahead and rotate at 100 knots. So you'll notice that on the takeoff checklist, V1 rotate at 100 knots. So we'll do that. Let's taxi out to the runway. And once we're lined up, we'll just push the thrust up, and at 100 knots, we'll rotate. Here we go. Alright, there is the 100 knots, and we'll rotate. Alright, retrim, positive rate, gear up. Right, you notice about 60% there was 70. It keeps us within the flap range. Alright, we want to accelerate to VT, which we'll do, we'll go to the top of the flap arc. So you notice the top of the white arc there? We're accelerated there. Now we don't want to go past the top of the white arc. That's the max flap speed, so then we'll go ahead and we'll look at our climb checklist. So gear is up. Accelerate to VT, top of the white arc. Flaps will go up, so we'll select our flaps up. Landing taxi lights can come off. Reversers, we can turn those off. And then we can go ahead and we can accelerate. Now anytime we make a pitch power configuration change, like flaps, gear, or increasing or decreasing power, we need to retrim. So we'll press the Alt key and we'll retrim here. And we'll just trim for about level. There we go. Alright, next thing we do is let's start getting in the autopilot. So we'll set an altitude. We're currently at about 3,000 feet, so let's set 5,000 feet. We'll go ahead and give it a heading of 070. And we'll go ahead and we'll go heading hold, altitude hold, autopilot master. Alright, with the autopilot master off, if that's not lit up, autopilot's not going to do anything. So in emergency, or if you just wanted to get control again yourself, you can just press that off, all the modes come off. So autopilot master's back on. 070, it's going to climb us up to 5,000 feet. So we'll just go ahead and we'll wait for that to level us off here in a second at 5,000 feet. Then we'll start to talk about the GPS components of this. Alright, so now we're leveled off. Alright, max speed's about 215 knots. So good amount of fuel in this aircraft. We can go from FJ Warner all the way up to the Arctic and about halfway back. So I wanted to make it so that you would have to do a refueling pass in the Arctic. Alright, this is mislabeled. I can fix this, but this is forward fuel tank, rear fuel tank. These are in pounds, just like a large aircraft. They'll be in pounds. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do here is put a GPS coordinate. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a GPS coordinate here on the map. So let's go ahead and we will set down to this island here. So we'll set a waypoint there. Go ahead to the GPS and we'll enter that in. Alright. Now you need to select nav to use any of your nav modes. You have radio and GPS. Radio is not is disabled on this one, on this airplane, but GPS is working. So you want to select nav and then you want to select GPS. Now, you notice nothing happened. We didn't turn. The heading hold always takes precedence. So this allows you to set up the mode first. And if you notice, when we select or deselect GPS, this is going to read the 00 point in the map, which is the beginner base. As soon as I click GPS, it's going to start, and I have nav selected, it's going to select the bearing to that point. So if I turn to a heading of 196, it's 4.4 nautical miles away, and it's showing 0 minutes to get there because we're not aiming towards it. If the number's negative, it will show 0, so you're not showing a negative number. Alright, so now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take off heading hold, and you'll notice we'll start turning towards that waypoint. So we're starting to turn towards our waypoint here, making a right turn. It's going to take the shortest path there, just like a real autopilot would. You see the bearing's going to keep changing until we're aimed right at it. Now, as we're starting to aim towards it, you notice the distance is going down because now it is a positive number. It's 5.1 nautical miles. This is all in nautical miles, as that's what most, U.S. aviation at the very least is in. It's going to be about 4.7 nautical miles away. It's going to take us about 1.6 minutes to get there. When we get within, I believe it's 1 nautical mile, this green light will flash to tell us that we're getting close. Alright, so we should be there in 1.2 minutes. We can see the island out there. I believe that's the one we're going for. Let's see. Yep, right there. It's right in front of us here. Right there. Let's go ahead and we'll take a look at it. You see that's the island we're aiming for right there. Alright, and so what's going to happen is when we get close to the island, it's going to just do a hold around the island. So if you needed to go AFK or something and you set up your autopilot system, it's not going to crash your plane unless it runs out of fuel. It's going to do a nice hold right around your waypoint. So we'll be there in 0.5 minutes, so about 30 seconds. It's 1.7 nautical miles. As you notice, once it starts getting close here, we'll start getting a flashing green light telling us that, hey, you're getting close to your waypoint. And it should be coming up here in a second for a flashing green light. There it goes. Less than 1 nautical mile, we got our flashing green light. Alright, just quickly show you what it's going to do when it gets into this holding mode here. And we'll turn in a second, and it's just going to do a nice circle around the waypoint. So here we go. And as you see, it's just going to maintain a circle to stay right over the waypoint, and we're just going to hold over. Alright, so we'll keep looping around, so if you went AFK, the airplane's not going to crash unless it runs out of fuel. Alright, we're going to go ahead and set a waypoint so we can go up here and land. So we're going to go ahead and we'll go back in, set the new waypoint, and you can see it's going to turn to it. We're going to go ahead and set an altitude. We'll get ready for landing, 1,000 feet. Alright, and we'll start getting ready for landing. So it's going to take us 0.8 to get to this waypoint, and then we're going to go straight in on the runway here. So I'm going to set the next waypoint, which will be end of the runway. Good. Alright, and we'll start slowing down. So we start pulling our thrust back. And we'll go top of the white arc. And next list we need to look at here is the landing checklist. So first thing we'll do is landing taxi lights coming on. After that, reversers, they're going to be armed, so they're coming on. We're going to go ahead, once we're below, right on the white arc here, we can go ahead and put flaps to 10. Alright. Talk about some other things in here. If you wanted to do panel lights, you'll notice all the panels are lit up, so it's a little bit easier to see. You can also notice that it turns on all the interior lights, so we can see the little people there. Alright. Alright, so we're 0.1 from that waypoint. Let's set the next one. And now we're going in towards the airport. Alright. So let's go ahead and slow down again. And we'll put in the next notch of flaps. So we got flaps 20 set. Alright, here comes the runway. Alright, we'll slow down again. And we'll go to our next notch here on the airspeed indicator. There's about 120 knots. And you notice we're starting to line up with the end of the runway. A little bit past it there, that's fine. It will we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and just get straightened out a little bit here. Let's go right there. I'll hand fly in a second. All right, next thing we do is gear down. Let the gear come down. Right. And gears down, 3 green. Flaps going to 30. All right. Now, the flaps can start adding some drag. We don't want to go below that green mark. That's the slowest we want to get, all right? So we might need to add a little power. Flaps are giving us a drag. That's part of the desired effect on flaps, is it causes you have to spool up your engines a little bit. Flaps are going to do 40. As you notice, it's starting to give us some more drag. We need to add some power. Flaps set to 40. All right, that is the end of the landing checklist here. I'm actually going around the waypoint here, so let's take off the autopilot and hand fly the rest of the way there. It was just taking us around that waypoint, and I got power up here a little bit. Let's climb back up. All right, and I'll just come in and we'll do a manual landing here. All right, so it was just, I didn't reset that waypoint, so it started to circle around the waypoint. All right, here we go. We're starting to come back on landing here. Now, we do have the thrust reversers armed, so if I bring my thrust back, it's going to bring out the thrust reversers. So that will also help us to slow down here. So again, any pitch power configuration changes, you do need to trim, just like a real airplane. All right, here we come. We're coming in. We're on our final. Slowest we want to get is the green arc here. All right, making kind of a mess of this landing just because I let the autopilot take over for too long and I didn't hand fly. Aim for the big squares. And we'll start to gently bring our thrust back, and we will touch down. And we'll start to bring our engines into reverse. I'm trying to so you can see them. Engines are coming in reverse. You notice the spoilers deploy automatically when we're on the ground and when we're going over a certain speed. Thrust reversers are out. And we go ahead and push the thrust back up to taxi off, and the thrust reversers will go forward. So the spoilers are automatic. If we're on the ground and we're going a certain speed, the spoilers will come up. So let's talk about a couple more things here. Spoilers are one of the topics. If we manually turn on the spoilers, they'll come up. They will help us to drop altitude, and they'll also give us more drag and slow us down. So just like real spoilers. Like I said, they'll automatically come up on the ground if we go a certain speed. All right, so let's go ahead to the after landing checklist. Flaps are going to come up. All right. Click those all the way up, and you'll notice they progressively will nicely come up. Landing and taxi lights can come off as we clear the runway, and the strobes can also come off. All right, good. After landing checklist, that's complete. So let's go ahead and taxi into the hangar as though we were taxiing right back into the gate. Got a couple items on the shutdown checklist, pretty simple. Parking brake set, lights off, fuel valves closed, start, stop off. So let's actually just go ahead and we'll stop it right here. So I didn't press the brakes at all there. I just used the spoilers and thrust reversers. So let's go ahead and press the brakes. If I press and hold the brakes, it will increase the brake pressure. If I let go, it completely shuts the brakes off. So we'll just go press and hold the brakes. And we'll look back and we'll grab the parking brake and we'll set that. Parking brake set. Lights are coming off. All right, lights are off. Fuel valve closed. Turbine start stop is coming off, and you notice the engines will spool down. All right. Generator is going to come off, and the battery is coming off. And that is the end of that. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next one.